In the fourth video in this series, I documented many notable game glitches and how they affect speedruns. This entry will cover the game's many unknowns, both things that are hypothetical at the moment, and those that aren't but are still unknown. Up first is Speedrunning-related Unknowns. This game is a 3DO title, and just like every other 3DO title, some of which have speedrunning communities which were established well before this one, this game has broken physics. I've shown off many examples so far, both advantageous and disadvantageous to speedrunning. But none of these strats break the game. Sure, things like the insane rail magnetism and the Moseley cookie cheese are broken, but those are still the intended way, just used more efficiently than expected. However, there could be ways to use these mechanics in completely different ways for massive amounts of time save that no one has found yet. For example, pressing circle to switch stance can sometimes provide a minuscule boost of speed. But what if it could be glitched to let you zip down tracks, allowing for runs like a sub-1 minute San Francisco? Or what about out of bounds? I've shown off that this is pretty much useless. However, what if there's some way that it can be exploited to allow for ultra shortcuts? Something else to note is that, while it's impossible during normal gameplay, you can ride along the tops of most buildings without being reset back to the course. Completely useless and impossible without hacks, but what if there was a way and this was insanely useful? Next is specific speedrunning unknowns. Earlier, I mentioned that only some Moseley cookies applied their extra speed instantly, while some don't until you ride over a surface that makes you go faster. However, I didn't mention that some of them don't work at first but do after 5 seconds or so. Additionally, the effects of the Moseley cookies sometimes seem to last longer than usual, indicating that it could be possible to extend the duration somehow. Figuring out these two unknowns would help speedruns significantly, especially the clean category, which can't use any kind of warping at all. The clean run of San Francisco takes advantage of stacking a Moseley cookie speed boost on top of an actual speed boost, but it doesn't last very long. If it did, a sub-3 minute run might be possible, and the world record is already at 3 minutes 5 seconds, but I've squeezed every possible millisecond out of the course. The cock-boxed glitch from earlier, and by extension the bad outcomes of all the glitches, is also an interesting topic of discussion. Is it possible that the bad outcomes aren't random, but caused by slight differences in movement not currently understood? A potential example of this is the second type of stumbling I mentioned in a previous video, rail stumbling. Just like normal stumbling which I documented before, rail stumbling is the exact same thing, but it only applies to rails. Normal stumbling doesn't seem to directly correlate to rail stumbling, and the opposite is also true. There have been no documented instances of rail stumbling obviously leading to any mishap later in the run, but it could potentially be doing something bad we don't currently understand, and the cause of stumbling on rails is also currently not understood. Going back to the cock-boxed glitch, the strange bug that causes the game to spawn an invisible box of varying size at a specific ramp in San Francisco, what if it isn't actually a box? What if some ultra-rare mistake from earlier in the run is storing some kind of bonk interaction, and executing it there for some reason? It would explain the bonk interaction, complete with sound effect, on a space where no object actually is, as well as the box seeming to grow or shrink. And if this is actually true, what if it's possible to intentionally store any interaction of our choosing, like storing a rail grind interaction and releasing it over rough terrain to perform a fake grind over it? Or, depending on how collectibles work, what if speed boosts could be stored this way? There's plenty of instances where this would lead to absolutely massive time saves, cutting off up to a minute in some cases. There is a glitch I didn't mention until this point because it's exclusive to San Francisco, and was actually patched on a code level on the PAL release, but it allows you to clip through a solid wall. Known as subway trap, this glitch clips you into a subway car with no way to escape except select warping out. What if it was possible to do this anywhere? Some geometry behind buildings doesn't count as out-of-bounds terrain, and you can ride along it for a short distance. With everything we discussed so far, sometime many years down the line, a theoretical evolved San Francisco speedrun could involve storing a speed boost, clipping through a wall to out-of-bounds geometry, using the switch stance button to zip down most of the course, and then releasing the stored speed boost to zoom past the finish line. But of course, this can't happen with current knowledge of the game, which pains me greatly, because I can see that being possible with these broken physics. Lastly, there's general game unknowns. Nothing relating to speedrunning, but just the game in general. The first example is cheat codes. Unlike every other 3DO title ever released, which usually have 5 hidden cheat codes and 5 unused cheat codes, this game has only one documented cheat code that's extremely hard to enter, and has no indication you've entered it correctly. It's the Unlock Everything cheat, and no one knows how it was found, since no others have been discovered. The Unlock Everything cheat is the only way to access Skier X, the next unsolved mystery in this game, and quite possibly the biggest. You've seen several mentions of Skier X in this tutorial series so far, such as him having glitched speed physics and having an incorrectly entered signature Trix score, but who exactly is he? Skier X is a bonus character you get from 100% completing the game, or at least that's what 3DO intended. At the start of any track during free ride mode, Coach Cooper gives you some tips. In Antarctica, one of these tips is a mysterious one that simply says, beat the game with all skiers to unlock. It's supposed to end with an ellipsis, the 3 periods, but this fails to show up because of a formatting error in memory. Additionally, in the game's manual is a section that lists off all the game's characters, Skier X included, and a list of their tricks. The name and description for Skier X's signature trick, the helicopter, isn't here. The text instead saying, unknown. Earn Skier X and C, is here instead. Clearly, beating the game with all skiers unlocks Skier X. But what does it mean to beat the game with all skiers? This is something no one has been able to figure out. First, let me explain how you unlock characters past the first 3. When you start any big mountain course for the first time, you'll see 2 scores, a score to beat and the current top score. If you beat the score to beat, you just unlock the next big mountain track. However, if you beat the current top score, you'll unlock a new character, once per track. Beating the top score again has no obvious effect, even if done with another character. The new characters are always unlocked in the same order. Tanner Hall, then Vincent Dorian, then Evan Raps, then Wild Child, and then Fat Earl. When the unlock requirements are met during a course, the value at address 003984C8 is changed to a hash, each character having a hash, causing the character unlock message to appear. This doesn't control the actual unlock though. That's how the normal characters are unlocked, but still no one knows how to unlock Skier X. When the game says to beat the game with all skiers, what exactly does that mean? Do you have to beat the top score with every character? Do you have to get all gold medals and beat the top scores with every character? The training level keeps track of a top score but doesn't display it, and has its own magazine flyout. Is beating the top score here required as well? Additionally, the slope-style tracks have top scores as well, and keeps track of this across the entire roster of characters, but there's no reward for doing this normally. Does this count towards beating the game with all skiers? It doesn't matter though, because multiple people have already beaten the top scores in every single track and gotten every gold medal with every character, and Skier X still doesn't unlock.
And I should say, like, so I know how to unlock the other 5, main characters. I don't know how to unlock Skier X. I genuinely don't. Like, out of this file where I just use the cheat to, get everything immediately, I have, like, with every character, gotten gold on all the competitions, beat the top score on all the backcountries. Fuck it, I'll just call them backcountries. And I don't know how to get Skier X. I haven't gotten him yet. So, I really don't know.
We do know he is intended to be unlockable though, as he does have a hash for the unlock message, and an event was programmed into the game that plays every bonus movie in a row upon his unlock, something that doesn't happen at any other point in the game. However, reverse engineering work on this is nearly non-existent, and for one major reason. While the game's data archives have been fully cracked open and extracted, 90% of the files being fully human-readable, it has been found that the archives only contain things like animations, sounds, level geometry, and the structure of menus. All programming related to things like Trix scores, character unlock requirements, and other core functions, are all stored inside the game's executable and are heavily obfuscated like PS2 game developers did back in the day. Like any serious reverse engineering work with PS2 executables, no one wants to go that far, and with a game this niche, there's currently no one up to this task, or at least not to the degree that needs to happen to solve this unlock mystery. The first person to figure out the correct method for his unlock, discover why it hasn't been working, and perform the unlock the way 3DO intended will go down in Mad Trix history as a god. But at the current moment, no one cares. Something interesting to note is that, during my first ever casual playthrough of this game, which is when it was first shown to me, the character unlock system suddenly changed. I unlocked Tanner Hall, then Vincent Dorian, and then Evan Raps. However, I skipped to Antarctica and beat the top score there, and strangely no character unlocked. Then, after returning to Kilimanjaro and beating the top score there, both Wild Child and Fat Earl unlocked at the same time. This has never been seen before and has never been recreated since. Additionally, due to the way the hash system works, this shouldn't even be possible at all considering only one character's unlock message can be displayed at once. Unfortunately, I wasn't recording and I didn't know enough about the game to consider it an oddity, so I didn't collect any visual evidence of it happening. Could this help solve the Skier X unlock mystery? To show how hard this is to solve, and how insignificant this mystery currently is compared to other games, Oddheader's community got nowhere with it, and they've solved some crazy, in-depth, deep on a technical level mysteries before. That pretty much covers all the hypotheticals and unknowns. The next and final video in this tutorial series will cover things the community currently needs to grow and continue existing.